So I'm just wanting to share something that I had a thought process on, something about Ezra's Eagle that um, I found very interesting, that none of the things that I've listened to from other people has seemed to be picked up on. About, I want to say like 2, 3 weeks ago, I was reflecting in my mind about something that Ezra's Eagle talks about, where it talks about two short feathers being plucked out or eaten up. And the thing that kept going through my mind is that it just didn't make sense that this would be Trump and the next president, because one of the things that it says earlier on is with these short feathers, that once those presidents are gone away, they don't come back. And so it was just working in the recesses of the back of my mind. And that particular language about the feathers being plucked up really got my attention a couple weeks ago. And the thought that came to mind was, it's different. You need to look at this different. Like, what is the difference between the feathers being plucked out and the difference of the short feathers? They're different. And I got looking at that and thought, okay, well, one of the short feathers was Kennedy and he was assassinated. One of the short feathers was Nixon and he was removed from office for corruption. And one of the short feathers was Trump, and the theory is that he was removed from office from a stolen election or from election tampering. And so I'm like, okay, well, if it's different, then it's not those things. And so what would it be? And so I just kind of had this understanding that it's different. I'm like, okay, well, that's different. So what would different be? And I just sat with that for a couple weeks. And about a week after I had been sitting with that, all of a sudden this thought process came to me. I'm like, well, wait a second. When did the Ezra's Eagle start, and when was that presidency? And okay, well, that's where like more that idea of shadow government, or just somebody that's not the president is kind of running the president, like more like the puppet kind of a thing. And I'm like, well, that's interesting, because it's like if you look at when that started, and I don't know, maybe it's like industrial complex kind of a thing. You look at that, and all of a sudden it's like this little light bulb went on in my head, and I thought, what if the feathers being plucked up are the two last feathers of that industrial complex concept? So I was like, okay, well, if they're short feathers, like, what is the timeline? So I'm like, okay, it's 2024, so 2028. And I was just kind of trying to do the math, and like when why can't I think of the name of it? I just keep wanting to say New World Order, and that's not what I want to say. And I want to say World Health Organization. That's not it either, but I know you guys know what this is. The nations that are in New York that we have the thing for. It's like, anyways. But what if the last two presidents that are plucked up, what if it's the two presidents that shadow government wanted to be in there, and they are not able to take office because we moved to the Eagle Heads? And I thought, okay, well, I've assumed this whole time that the Eagle Heads are bad, but what if they're not? What if, in this case, you have Trump, who is a short feather because he's being manipulated by the shadow government, and then he is gone away, and then you have Biden, who's being manipulated by the shadow government, and whatever that looks like. And so what if Trump being reelected, what if that is the eagle? And I'm trying to decide, it's like, is the eagle like the body of the eagle, and the eagle head, is that like the the country waking up and wanting to, restore things back to constitutional principles or whatnot. And so, could Trump be both a short feather and the first eagle head? And as I was looking at the descriptions of the eagle head, I thought about the first one dies in his bed. And I thought, well, given Trump's age, that's actually a really reasonable thing to have happen. And then what if what happens is then the next two who would like to have constitutional principles and would lead the country in constitutional and free ways that is trying to do the right thing, that, one gets greedy or one gets tempted and kills the other one. And so anyways, it's just, we need to be looking at this differently, because having a feather plucked up or eaten up is different than a short feather. And so anyways, that's just the thing I want to put out there. And I do have comments turned off. I don't want any drama from this. This is just for anybody who is earnestly interested in what that looks like. And I'm not going to pretend like I don't know. I'm trying really, really hard not to be like pro Trump or pro Biden or pro, like I hate politics. I really, really do. I don't know. I don't know. And I know that I don't know. And I know that it's a really triggery thing for a ton of people. But it was just an interesting thought process. And so, I don't know, that's just something to look at and be aware of, that those short feathers getting plucked up is different than being a short feather. And we know short feathers are assassinated and these other things. And so we're not looking for an assassination. We're not looking for, the things that we would see, because it's different. And why is it different? And that's so far the thing that I've been able to wrap my head around, is it's different because it's potentially a leader, like the leaders that the shadow government would have wanted in place aren't in place, that they were not able to get their guy in because the American people are so tired of all the crap, and they made a choice the best that they can with what we had offered to us. And so there you go. So anyway, just an interesting thought. So hopefully that's of help to you, and good luck figuring it out too.